All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, bMcConnell.
And good evening, one and all, and welcome back to the X Zone. I am bMcConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide, as together we will cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, right here in St. Catharines. And they stream us at classic1220.ca. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. Well, tonight, X Zone Nation, we bring you yet another thought-provoking journey into the unknown. Our guest this hour is Kenneth Hopkins, a resident of Shutesbury, Massachusetts, who has come forward with an extraordinary and deeply personal story, one that involves repeated alien abductions. For years now, Kenneth has claimed contact with non-human entities, and his experiences span decades, from missing time to strange markings to vivid encounters aboard otherworldly craft. Kenneth has endured the phenomena that challenges the boundaries of our very beliefs. Now, whether you're a skeptic, a believer, or someone in between, tonight's show promises to be both revealing and unsettling. So fasten your seatbelts, because you're about to hear may change the way that you look at the night sky forever. Kenneth Hopkins, welcome back to the X Zone. Great having you with us, sir.
I'm glad to be present.
Kenneth, for the listeners who may not have had the opportunity of hearing you before here on the X Zone, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm retired and gone into writing since my retirement. I spent 25 years doing direct care services and many years in colleges. So I live in Shutesbury, which is a fairly quiet town, population around 1,600.
Mm-hmm. Are you still there, Kenneth?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm here.
All right. And Kevin, when did you first become aware that you were experiencing something that could be classified as an alien abduction?
I really wasn't aware until about 2000. The year 2000, I started getting flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And those flashbacks started my hypnotic regressions to venture and find out what they were about. They were frightening at first, and in that search of the regressions and hypnosis, after several years, we came to better understand what my experiences were about.
Now, when you say we, who are the we you're talking about?
I worked with a hypnotist. I continue to work with her. And there's another friend who has also been in some of my abductions, who we communicate and express and share our experiences. And I've also shared my experiences with many others in numerous countries, wow, and they've shared their experiences.
Now, this other person that you're talking about, Kenneth, Are you both part of the same abduction scenario, or is it that you both have alien abduction experiences?
We pretty much the same abduction scenario.
Mm-hmm.
We've been on ships. We've been not all. We've had some experiences together, but most of our experiences have been separate of basically the same alien and military group.
Now, Kevin, how many times do you believe that you've been abducted, and over what time span?
I would say thousands, and we're dealing with this since birth. These experiences occurred, but I didn't understand these experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until the flashbacks came to me when I was in my 50s that I started to better understand what these experiences were about.
Thousands of times you believe that you've been abducted. When you stop to think about that, how does that make you feel?
It's realizing they were abductions since these events occurred since birth, and learning to discriminate between them, these experiences and dreams,
Mm-hmm.
was a twist for me. When we got into working with cameras in my bedroom, and I also utilized cameras in several others' bedrooms, we realized we left our rooms at night physically in a process of plasma teleportation. I published these photographs in 2 books, including my last book that just came out last year.
Kevin, this is going to be a very simple question to ask, but I'm sure that it's going to just boggle the audience. Why you? Why was Kenneth Hopkins abducted more than 1,000 times by extraterrestrials or the military complex?
This seems to connect with my mother's genetic participation with a group we believe was connected with the military. I am not of my mother's genetics, and there are many others that are not of their one or the other parent's genetics. And so when they did a genetic review,
Mm-hmm.
I came up as Scandinavian, and my mother is German. And then I came up half Scandinavian and half English. My father is English. So my genes matched with those of my father,
Mm-hmm.
but none with my mother.
Now, these genetic tests that were they conducted by hospitals or legitimate
No, it was
laboratories or Ancestry.com or something like that?
Ancestry.com.
Okay.
But I was looking, I had been informed by one of those that had done surveillance on me that my father was not my father. We had a confrontation with a car that had been following me, and then he gave me a telephone after that confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
My coworkers threw rocks at a car that was doing surveillance on us. And so then he called and responded, and this occurred shortly after the incident, so I realized it was him. He said he'd been watching me for many years, and that he knew more about me than I did, basically. And then he told me that my father wasn't my father. So I never thought to look at my mother's genetics.
Okay.
So when everything confirmed my father's genetics, I stopped further looking. I had never imagined that my mother had been involved in this particular procedure. But my mother and my great uncle wanted to have his child. And so this set up what was probably a pretense, so that they used a Scandinavian woman's egg with my father's sperm, and the Greys participated in this along with the U.S. military.
Now, the vehicle that was following you or maintaining surveillance on you, who was it? Which branch of the military?
I never got a full understanding of what branch of government or military they were. Surveillance has been on and off throughout a good portion of my life, wow, including monitoring of phone calls and pretty much everything I do on my devices.
You were saying that your mother played a major part of this with DNA or genetics. How do you know that?
When my mother gave birth to me in Lawrence General Hospital, mm-hmm, and so all those records are pretty exacting. But when Ancestry.com did the evaluation, they found no matching with my mother of German genetics. They found no correlations with her at all. Towards the end of her life, I started asking questions, but she wouldn't answer on a telephone. So I never did get the complete story, but the impression I had was that she had gone in agreement with my uncle to have one of his children.
So your uncle is your father?
My great uncle.
Your great uncle.
Yeah, my great uncle would. His genes were never involved. It was the Scandinavian woman's genetics and my father's English genetics that were my genetics.
Wow, talk about a little confusing. So let me see.
Go ahead.
I've got to take a commercial break in about 20 seconds. But let me see if I can try and understand this. Your father is your great uncle.
No, my father is my personal father. My mother's husband.
Okay. So where does the great uncle come in?
I believe that was part of a pretense. All I know is his genetics never came into my genetics.
All right, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our first break. X-Zone Nation. Our guest this hour is Kenneth Hopkins. And we'll both be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM here in St. Catharines, streaming at classic1220.ca. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. Kenneth Hopkins is our special guest. And Kevin, what is the best website for our listeners to find out more about you online?
I have not set up a website.
Okay.
I made an attempt to a number of years ago, but I had much interference trying to get the site set up with the monitors.
So I guess the best way would just be to go.
The best
Google.
way, and what I'm looking for is, of course, other people's accounts, and anybody with questions on their own personal experiences would be to contact me at khop53@outlook.com.
All right, and that is one. Give it one more time, please, Kevin. Kenneth, I'm sorry. Yeah.
khop53@outlook.com.
All right. Kenneth, can you walk us through one of your abduction experiences from start to finish?
The ones that became were the blackouts that became my first awareness. And at age 21, 22, around the time I started dating, I and the young women with me were having blackouts in which time passed very quickly. And they're referred to as missing time. At 22, I ignored these missing time episodes, but they did cause a lot of problems with my girlfriend's curfews, because they were due to be back at the colleges or back at their homes at a certain time. So they brought on restrictions because I was late at bringing the women back to their residences.
And I would guess that, you just couldn't tell them what really happened.
For the most part, the women had no idea of the missing time thing. And in one particular episode, she described it as losing her mind temporarily. And as she said, she felt lost on whatever happened on that road. What I did is a lot of times I would go to a private spot on a dirt road to sit and talk with my girlfriends. And those private spots were where our abductions occurred. Of course, we were drinking and smoking, so we didn't want to get caught in public. So we took isolated areas to drink and smoke.
When you say smoke, are you talking about tobacco or are you talking about grass?
Talking about marijuana.
Okay. You know what I like about you? You're honest. You're one of the most honest people I know. I ask you a question, you give me an answer. You don't try and, you don't try to skate around it. You just say it the way it is. What do these beings look like, Kenneth? Are they typical grays or something different?
There seem to be several different kinds of grays. And probably the writer, there's a particular writer whose name I can't quite recall, but he was involved in the recording of the Anderson Affair event.
Bud Hopkins.
No, not Bud. No. Bud Hopkins was quite insightful. His writings on missing time brought clarity on my experiences. I can't remember his name, but he did a lot of writings, and he was kind of a pioneer on abductions with the Greys.
Okay. So there were the Greys, but what other kind of aliens did you encounter over the years?
One encounter with a reptilian, and she was relatively very positive energies. And then I've had numerous encounters with other species, but I wouldn't know how to necessarily even describe them. But the second major group has been the Pleiadians. And the Pleiadians have probably had the most abductions of all the groups. And then there was the military experiences. And the military does abductions as the Celestials do as well.
When was the last time you were abducted by the ETs?
The Pleiadian abductions are kind of ongoing, but they've decreased dramatically. I would say there was an experience last week with a teleportation at night. But the amount of, there's been a dramatic decrease in my abductions.
Really?
The Greys have done physical procedures to assist, but nothing has been done with them in a while.
What kind of procedures do they do?
There was work on my back. I did something stupid with throwing a log that slipped a disc.
Ouch.
And left me somewhat disabled and in pain for periods of time. And they did work on my back to eliminate the pain I was suffering from the backaches. The other procedures they've done, which I don't really understand.
Mm-hmm.
I've been conscious waking up on their operating tables since childhood. And as a child, the experiences were very frightening because they did this dismemberment or this dismantling
Mm-hmm.
of taking parts off or opening up areas of my body. And as a child, it was very traumatic, and I always thought they were dreams.
By the way, the name of the author you were looking for was Raymond Fowler.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you to my producer.
His that was a good recall. His stuff was very, very similar to my experiences.
Really?
Right to the descriptions of the Greys. He had experiences with the Pleiadians, but I don't know if he necessarily identified them as Pleiadians.
Now you were saying that you had an encounter or an abduction. I believe you said last week. When you're going to have an abduction, do you get any feelings? Do you get any precursors to what is going to happen, or is it just bang?
It's pretty much just a bang, and then, as one writer was explaining, they use an alternate consciousness in us with in many of our interactions with them. So we don't have clarity in memory on our interactions with them.
Now, when you're abducted, where do you go?
They can teleport us to anywhere. And I really don't know the dynamics of plasma teleportation other than what we filmed. I wasn't able to have any luck in videoing, but I was able to get sequential shots with security camera. We used an old Swan security camera. My last attempt at photographing these events, the camera wouldn't photograph. It was just all disruptive screens. You couldn't make out what was occurring on the screens. In the earlier ones I published sequential, and they would show me leave, come back, and one would show me returning, leaving, and in a sequence of about 3 seconds, it took 4 shots. But the later pictures, we were not able to depict the clarity that we did in our original pictures.
Have you been able to get any pictures of the abductors?
We got one group, but they were shadowy figures, and one was a dark black and I believe he was an insectoid. And the other was just lights in the shape of a person that came out on the camera. But you couldn't, they were just basically disrupted shadows, and the man gave off a light. I called him Man of Many Colors. I would see them once in conscious experience, but the fear of the insect made me black out. He was about a 7-foot beetle.
That's a pretty big bug.
And so as I saw his face, I blacked out because the features frightened me so.
How old were you then?
That one, I would say I was in my 30s.
I've got to take my break right now at the bottom of the hour, Kenneth. Please stand by. Exonation, Kenneth Hopkins is my special guest. Now, if you'd like to share an experience that you've had with extraterrestrial alien abductions, or, there's missing time in your life, and you'd like to share it with Kenneth, his email is khop53@outlook.com. That's khop, the number 5, the number 3 @outlook.com. And Kenneth and I will be back on the other side of this very short break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell. And we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and your hometown radio, Classic 1220, CFAJ AM, streaming at classic1220.ca.
If Lord can see us through, then we'll be together somewhere out there, out where dreams come true.
Fingers with mine would not intertwine. When I bent down and gazed into her eyes, they were big as donuts and blacker than the sky. She said, I'm feeling low.
Welcome back, everyone. Kenneth Hopkins is our very special guest. His email address is, if you'd like to contact Kenneth and share an encounter or an experience that you've had, his email address is khop53@outlook.com. That's khop, the number 53 @outlook.com. Kevin, have you ever returned from an abduction with physical evidence like marks, implants, or injuries?
Yes, and the military mislabeled them in their records because I'm a disabled veteran. And the marks that I came back with, and I published the marks in books, were pretty extensive. And the psych department seemed to play a game in calling one group self-inflicted. And then in the case of the broken ribs, which disabled me for 3 years, there was 5 severed ribs from a beating that had occurred in an abduction with the military.
Oh, wait a sec. Hold on here. You were also abducted by the military?
The military was part of, it was 3 groups: the military, the Palladians and the Greys. The Greys normally worked on physical ailments. There wasn't, and they helped with pain and suffering. The Palladians had classes, but we wouldn't remember the classes. We'd wake up, know we went to a class, and then wake up from that class, but we wouldn't remember the substances of the classes. So the Palladians and other celestials, with people I've talked to, have experienced these classes that the celestials have given.
How have these experiences impacted your mental health and emotional health?
Coming to an understanding of them was probably a very part of the trauma, but the surveillance was a big part of the biggest trauma. Was the following by the military, I assume military. Wherever I went, it was to a point where it was obsessive. Whenever I went out, there was a vehicle behind me. In the military, I had military intelligence investigate it, and their answer to me when they got back to me was, "Would you like to leave the military with honors?" And I declined at that time.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service. And
Yeah,
and I have to ask you, when you realized that you were being followed, did you go to your local law enforcement or state police and tell them what was going on?
no, FBI, Federal Drug Enforcement Agency, and military intelligence were the people I went to. Since I was dealing with a top secret security clearance, that was where I was directed. Plus, in one of the homicides, there seemed to be evidence that he was a federal drug enforcement agent.
What homicide?
This was described in my book. It was a homicide that seemed to have people looking for me afterwards. He just disappeared. His body was never found.
Were you suspected of being involved in the homicide?
Not that one. I was suspected of being involved in another one that took place in Belchertown, and I really don't. So I came under investigation by the Belchertown Police Department on a man's investigation that I was involved with, I believe, a military agency.
Why were you pointed to as a suspect?
I believe in Belchertown, it was very much like a police state.
Okay.
If you were parked somewhere for a period of time, you'd be approached by a police officer. So I believe this man that was following me was approached by the Belchertown Police Department, and he explained that I was under a federal investigation of sorts. So when he disappeared, I became an immediate suspect of his disappearance.
Wow.
And that happened when I didn't know at that time I was going to college, and I really had no understanding of what was going on. At first, I thought the surveillance was a threat to my life, but when they seemed to just, all they did was watch, eventually I lost the fear of them being a threat to my life.
Has your perspective on life, humanity, or the universe changed as a result of your encounters?
I would have to say, yes, they have. And one of the encounters, and it's a group of the encounters and telepathic communication that often occurs during our daytime. That gave me a difference in the perspectives. The interviews of many contactees also gave me a very good perspective of what was going on.
So you've been abducted, you believe, or about over 1,000 times. So the last abduction you had was just over a week ago. I'd just like to go back to your childhood, if you don't mind. Did you have something to do with a hospital in Boston?
Yes. You're talking about the MK Ultra projects?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, these are being performed at Boston Children's Hospital. And I question whether these are ongoing or done. But the MK Ultra projects, I don't understand exactly how I came into those or if they were directly connected.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a learning disability and I was diagnosed as mentally retarded. So then they sent me to this doctor and he was doing procedures that I didn't have memory of at the time. Later on, I would have in the flashbacks and with hypnosis, I'd have some memory of the procedures that they had done to me.
And how did your mother know what was going on? Now MK Ultra was conducted by the Central Intelligence Agency as the precursor to psychological warfare, where they used, like you were saying, operations. They used electroshock therapy. They used sleep deprivation and other things. What did your parents say about all this?
The parents, I had no memory, and I would have no memory of the sessions.
Mm-hmm.
My parents, as with most of the MK Ultra victims, were unaware, because if the child doesn't, and there were some cases where the children did come forth, and their parents thought their stories were so outrageous, they told them it was their imagination.
But you said that you had a surgical procedure done. Do you have marks of that
No,
procedure?
I didn't. I have marks of surgical procedures, but that wasn't involved with the MK Ultra.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was. So it seems that your life has been entangled with this Central Intelligence Agency and the other intelligence agencies, whether it's national, the NSA, or the military intelligence, from a very, 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 very young age.
It seemed almost as if it was connected to my mother's genetic procedure that she had done. When I tried to get answers on the procedures, she would invite me to visit to get the explanations, and I was doing a lot of overtime, and it was a 100-mile trip.
Right.
So I was never able to visit her, and then she went into dementia prior to her death, and she had no recollection of what she had started to speak to me about.
Is it possible that your mother's request or hesitancy to give you the information that you were looking for was a way to get you to come and see her, that she really had no information, that she was just using us?
I believe I believe she had information with what she was planning with her uncle. I believe she traveled, and I also believe she received some $32,000 from him. My great uncle, her uncle.
Ah, okay.
She received money from him to raise his child.
Okay, now this is where it gets a little tricky, because before you said your father is your father.
Yeah.
But now you're saying that your great uncle, your mother's uncle, gave her $32,000 to raise her child.
Well, he felt that I was his child.
Ah.
And so whatever was done with that procedure, it wasn't done as the participants had planned on.
All right, so it wasn't intercourse, it was artificial insemination.
Yeah, it was artificial insemination.
Gotcha. How does that make you feel?
Getting the clarity on it, it didn't change. My relationship with my mother was very rocky, so it didn't really affect, and it didn't affect my feelings about my father, because when the man that had been following me told me that my father was not my father, to me, the parent is the person that takes care of you.
I agree.
The person that raises you as a child, not the person that participated in your creation, but the person that's there with you through all your sufferings.
All right, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our final break. At Exo Nation, my guest this hour is Kenneth Hopkins. I told you to fasten your seatbelt. That way you are going to hear this hour may change the way that you look at the night skies. And now you see what I'm talking about. Now, if you'd like to send Kenneth an email that you'd like to share an experience, or just contact him, his email address is khop53@outlook.com. And Kenneth and I will be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up hour number 1 of tonight's show here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, on the Mutual Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and the X Zone Broadcast Network. And how could I ever forget our good friends at Classic 1220 CFAJ AM here in St. Catharines, streaming us at classic1220.ca.
Your feet is flashing red and white and sprouting little mushrooms left and right. Then she threw me down and put me on my back. To tell the truth, I thought I'd seen my last. But she settled down and snuggled in Mars, and I made love to that maiden from the stars.
Welcome back, everyone. Kenneth Hopkins is our special guest this hour. His email address is khop53@outlook.com, and that's khop, the number 53@outlook.com. Do you feel that these abductions, these beings, had a specific purpose or mission involving you? And if so, Kenneth, what do you think that mission is?
Involving many others. The general mission is enlightenment of man. And in the many interviews that I've done of abductees and contactees, they claim that they were not of Earth in their previous lives. And that this to them, this planet is trauma, and they consider it a teaching planet. And so these many different incarnations came from other planetary systems to raise the frequency of Earth. We're considered on a relatively low level frequency. And by frequency, I'm talking about what's good, harmonious, truth versus the dishonesty and the misperception and cruelty.
Well, that is very true of today's world with all the geopolitical and financial unrest that we're seeing on a global basis. I'm sure that this is one hell of a lesson for mankind and aliens alike, my friend. How have your friends and families and neighbors reacted to your story?
Well, my Neighbors, I've pretty much not spoken publicly in my home area. Most of the shows I've done are in other locations, and I've kind of just communicated with those having the same experiences. So my sister is a contactee. Her daughter is a contactee. I believe there's other members of the family that are contactees. But most of my discussions have been with other contactees and abductees, with people that experience and understand the phenomena behind the abductions.
Now, your sister and your niece, do they have the same genetic buildup as you do, or the same DNA?
I don't know. I don't know. There's about their genetics, because nobody went to Ancestry.com to have their genetics done. My sister and I had an abduction in '74, late at night in her bedroom. She had seen a spaceship. She brought me in to look at it, and then we had missing time around that event. It would take years before I would fully recall that event.
What do you say to skeptics who believe alien abduction is a fantasy or a psychological delusion?
Which covers psychology, and psychologists come from two different sides on abductions. A lot of it, you can't conceive it unless you experience it. So this is why I've spent most of my time talking to people that understand the phenomena and have experienced it.
Do you believe alien abductions are happening to others, not only in your area, but other parts of the world? Right.
That these people have described to me. So there's numerous different ETs involved in these abductions.
Why are there so many different types of ETs that are coming here and putting people like you and other unsuspecting and unwilling people on this planet, in some cases through sheer hell, and through other cases being very nice, being very benevolent? And there seems to be a good faction and a bad faction.
That's very true. And I've talked to those that have gone through the very worst of experiences. And the only thing I can say is, by not playing along with the ET's negativity, they can eventually escape those abductions from the aggressive ETs.
Have you been here's a real strange question, and I don't know why I'm asking you this. Is that, have you been contacted with anyone who claims to be an extraterrestrial online?
The hybrids are on Earth, and the Pleiadians had their hybrid program. They called it the Greys. So there's numerous hybrids in people that both understand they are, and those that don't understand that they are. I think if people get more on their genetics, they'll find disconnectivity with their family lines.
What would you like to share with the X-Zone Nation tonight? Who might be going through the similar unexplained events that you've been going through, for your whole life?
Finding the awareness becomes the first part of understanding. And many of us go through a large part of our lives without that awareness. And many choose not to look into what little awareness they have, while others choose to look deeply into it. So it's all, in the end, to the level of your comfort zone.
How has your experiences with extraterrestrials, your alien abduction scenarios, and the life that you've had and continue to have this very day, what is your outlook on religion?
The Palladians gave perspective on religion, which and basically they said, to serve the Creator is to serve one another. So I have a lot of doubt in organized religion. We are one. We are all one, whether we choose to act as one or choose to fight one another. We are all one. So to a God that needs to be worshipped is not a high being. A God that involves its parishioners worshiping it and paying money to it, that's not a good element.
I agree with you 100%, but is it God who required all that, or was it man and his lack of understanding and his desire to want to understand?
I think the celestials in the beginning took the role of gods. And then the worship of the gods was all about control. So it was a way of controlling the masses. It wasn't about spirituality. When you have to go through these rituals and these practices to show your obedience to God, there's something wrong.
Well, once again, I wonder if these rituals, these practices are man-made to actually, to have that control that you were talking about. And I
believe so.
Yeah. Can you just imagine having the opportunity to speak to the Creator and see what they think of the way that what they gave this planet has turned out to be?
The Creator is not seen as a being of intelligence. It's an energy.
Okay.
It's a connection point of all of us. The Christian Bible in its early traditions believed in many gods, not one God.
That's true.
As Judaism and Christianity developed, the many gods became one God. Like the Israelis say, the God of Abraham.
The God of Israel, the God of the chosen one. And then even in the Bible, in the book
of God of Abraham, they speak specific.
Yeah, but even in the Bible, in Genesis, it said, and God said, let us create man in our image. It wasn't singular, it was plural.
Let us.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, of course, just like the earth being the center of the universe, like us, but some of the angelic beings are aliens.
You've got the Nephilim in the Bible, those who descended from the skies. There's many examples. Listen, Kenneth, I hate to do this, but the time has come when I must say so long with you, my friend. I want to wish you continued success. Thank you for being there to help so many people who think they're going crazy because not everybody believes them. So you take care of yourself, Kenneth, and the best of luck to you. Continued success, and I look forward to the next time you join us here in the X Zone.
I look forward to answering your questions, so I'll be looking forward to hearing from you guys again.
Take care of yourself, Kenneth, and our very best to you and your family.
Thank you very much.
All right, X Zone Nation, Kenneth Hopkins. What a gentleman. If you'd like to send an email to Kenneth, his email address is, got your pencil and paper ready? KHOP53 at outlook.com. I'll be back on the other side of the short break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, and your hometown radio, Classic 1220, CFAJ AM, streaming us at classic1220.ca.